welcoming you, River. Thank you so much for taking some time today to share with me about your experience.
Yeah.
So, I would love to hear what drew you into our Empress Council.
Um, so I had been, it was just a little over a year ago now.
Mm,
Um, I had been feeling so untethered to myself and to life and to just connections with other people. Um, and I was feeling really kind of like I was floating along, but like clinging to whatever might be around me just so that I wasn't feeling completely alone. And then I saw you sharing on Instagram about this group, and I had seen you post about it before, maybe. Um, but clearly it wasn't the right time because it just was like, okay, yeah, Sharon's got this thing. Okay, great. But then July, August, whenever it was that you started sharing it again, last year, I was like, oh, okay. Um, yeah, maybe that sounds interesting. Like, okay, yeah, I think maybe I could do that. Let's see what it's all about. And you were just so you laid it all out on the table, I felt like, with me in telling me what this group was and who these people, these women were and what you were trying to kind of collect into the space. That like everything inside of me was just like, oh yes, 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 pick that, please, please, please.
mm,
So I
mm.
couldn't say no at that point.
Mm. And what after you stepped in? Like what in in a way that you feel like you can quantify what has happened for you?
Oh, um, I'm not entirely sure that I can quantify anything. And also, I remember you asking me this in an email not that long ago. And what I said, I feel like expresses it really the best is that I feel entirely changed and yet absolutely the same. And
Mm. Mm.
it was like being in this space with these women, getting to show up as my full self, getting to witness these other beautiful souls show up as their full selves, and really trusting in the love and the connection that is in this container. It was like getting to chip off so many different layers and masks of things that were me shaped, but not actually me. So, I have always been me, and yet there have been so many different coverings, so many different layers, so many different ways of being that were required to protect based on who I might have been talking to or how I might have been moving in the world. And being in this council has really helped me to let most, if not all of those go so that I can just be me and to be so much more comfortable moving in the greater world
Mm.
just as me, as okay, I have experienced now so many different people accepting me and loving me for just me.
Mm.
And if they can do it, other people can do it too. And I will find those other people who are willing to accept and love me just for me. So to hell with all the other masks and whatnot that aren't absolutely required, in order to get through, the job, the day, whatever.
Mm. 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 I love the way you're describing it and bringing in, you know what I mean? That like peeling away of the masks. And what was that like for you? Knowing like that's not always easy. It's not always pretty. It has, you know, moments of incredible exhilaration when it's like,
Mhm.
woo, I'm letting that one go. But then there's times where it's like, oh my God, I can't let this one go. Like I don't know how
Mhm.
to do it for myself. So
Yeah.
what was that like the bandwidth, the breadth and scope of feeling those masks pull away for you, you know, in your everyday life with the support of this council as kind of a backdrop?
Um, well, it all coincided with making some major life changes. Um, so I don't I don't know entirely what would have been different if I hadn't also been completely dismantling my life as I knew it. Um, and like how those kind of layered in with each other. Um, I think so talking with you before I joined, you were like, "Oh no, like this space, these people, this group has capacity to hold all of you. Like you just show up. We've got this. Like there's there's nothing that I could show up with that would be too much for the whole collective
Mm.
to be able to, you know, hold space for. Um, and so there was a little bit at first of, mm, at least to me, it felt like I was kind of testing it. Like, okay, I'm just gonna put it all out there. In reality, I didn't put like anything out there, but it certainly felt like, oh, I'm just gonna like just flaunt it all and see how it's received. Um, and it was like nobody batted an eye. It's just like, oh, okay, well, that's not the reaction that I'm used to. That's not what I was expecting. So, okay, maybe this is legit. But also, oh, okay. So I felt like I just ripped off this big old band-aid in presenting myself. Nobody poked at the wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was like, "Oh, okay. It looks like maybe you might need to clean that a little bit. Can do you need some help? Can I bring you some tea while you're recovering from this?" Like, um, but then there's that like, okay, we took that one step, but now I have to get comfortable with having this out in the open. And um I felt a little bit like I stepped back a little bit because I did this brave thing, I did this scary thing, and now I needed to get comfortable with it. And that I think was really the turning point for me was seeing so many women just say, okay, I got you. I hear you. Like, thank you for saying that because that makes me feel like I can say this. Or thank you for showing up in this way because it reminds me of, all of these ways that everyone was taking what I had to say and what I had to share and like taking it in for themselves and then being able to give back in a similar fashion once I could accept that, then it was like, well, okay, I'm I'm gonna take everyone at face value. Like they say I'm here, I can be here, then I'll be here. And I think the other parts of myself, the other shields, the masks and the ways of being, they kind of um slipped away or were soaked away
Mm-hmm.
in their own time rather than it being an active, okay, I'm taking this one off and I'm putting it down. That it was more just kind of soaking in the water of the group and letting things just kind of float away or dissolve away. And it wasn't entirely a conscious decision. It was just, oh, and now I'm showing up and I can say, this about me, or I can present what I have to share in this way and feel confident that no one is gonna, react badly or, whatever all of the other messages that I have received over and over and over in my life. Like
Mm,
none of that was present in this
mm,
group.
mm.
So,
Yeah, you're describing it, the soaking away in the waters of the group. And what a different, radically, you know what I mean? We are so used to in our very personal growth oriented culture being like, okay, I've got this wound. Now I'm going to take care of it. And
mhm.
I'm going to put it down, like all these real action oriented ways. So describing it that way is such a, yeah, it's so visceral, isn't it? Of what
Yeah,
does it mean to come into a place where literally it's filled with water that you can soak in and all in your right timing?
yeah,
And knowing, again, even as you said at the beginning, like this is a hard thing to quantify what this even is, but you're doing a gorgeous job of showing some different ways, you know what I mean, that this works for different women, different women's
hmm
bodies, different, the feminine being inside of all of us. What would you say, like, to someone who is feeling drawn in, considering this, um, in how they might be met in their own, unique, diverse possibilities?
yeah. Um, well, I would say there's literally nothing that this group can't hold. Um, all of the spiky, rough edges that someone might think that they have that makes them unable to be held. Um, we we have space for that. We have ways to wrap you up so that we all can stay safe and you can be loved.
Mm,
For all the people that might feel like they are just one great big puddle of pieces that has no shape because they're so broken. We have a container that can hold you so that you can put those pieces back together in your own time.
mm,
For someone who doesn't even know what they need, that's okay. You can just come hang out and listen, and you'll figure it out along the way.
mm,
Um, and for the people that do know exactly what they want and they need, ask for it and you will get it.
mm, mm. Oh, it sounds like something I want to be a part of. Thank goodness I am. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And is there any last things you feel like you want to share or offer or speaking
I
to?
I would say that I think it would take really a minimum of 3 months
Mm,
to decide if this is really the right fit for you. That those first 3 months, I think, are can sometimes feel really unsteady and scary and maybe a little uncomfortable because so many people aren't used to being met exactly where they are and being welcomed exactly how they show up. Um, so if you can give yourself 3 to 6 months before deciding that this might not be the best fit for you, that would be my recommendation. And there is such a collective love that has just like coalesced from all of the women that have been in this group before, that each person brings and adds their own essence to it that you just get to be in. And it doesn't matter if you haven't been there from the beginning or you don't know everyone who has, that it just, every woman willingly leaves a little bit of themselves behind to add. And I really have never had the privilege to be able to just soak up that kind of love before. But that's what this group offers for sure.
mm, mm. Thank you, River. Soaking up you, my dear.
I'm so glad to be here.
Hmm.